Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Territory Talk on the Four Corners Network. I am one of your hosts, Kris Rex, alongside my best friend and my partner in everything, John Punn. And again, this is Territory Talk, where we discuss and review Vice TV's Tales from the Territories. And this is the 7th episode, Punn, and we're going to Portland, where wrestling got weird.
I'm happy to say we did not have an eye being poked out on last night's episode.
No,
So
no eye pokings.
no eye pokings, but we did get bitches being thrown into wars, which is something you're accustomed to, which we'll get into later on.
Wait, did you say I'm a bitch that gets thrown through a wall? Yeah.
I guess, yeah, not anymore.
So we're off to the Pacific Northwest, aka Portland, and on this roundtable we have Mike Masters, we have the grappler Len Denton, Princess Victoria, and Bushwhacker Luke. Yeah, lick the armpits. Now, the Northwest Territory was simply known as Portland, and it dates its roots back to the 1920s. It was also the first territory to have a weekly television show, and it was simply known as Portland Wrestling.
Yeah.
And Mike Masters introduced how you would get booked in Portland Wrestling. And simply, you would just send in an 8x10, and based on how you looked, if they liked how you looked, yeah, they'd bring you in. And they showed some footage of the bushwhackers in Portland, the sheep herders as they were. And it was a totally different characters than what we got in the WWF. I mean, they were hardcore. It was kind of like they were the Dudleys before the Dudleys.
Yeah, the blood was insane. You know, I didn't think the Bushwhackers did hardcore wrestling like that before hardcore wrestling was cool.
Yeah, I
And,
mean,
saw
we came up in a...
of Luke. That was Luke on the show, right?
Yeah.
Right, of his face just covered in blood.
The Crimson Mask. Yeah.
They were hardcore. I didn't know they were hardcore. I was a kid when I'm watching them, bushwhackering around.
Yeah.
I didn't know about their past.
Same thing here. We grew up in a different era where we really didn't get a chance to see what they were doing, because all I knew when I was a kid was WWF, WCW, and then eventually, like, towards its later years, ECW. So that's why I'm actually loving this show, because it gives me a chance to, like, be, oh shit, they were doing this stuff. Like Roddy Piper was from Portland.
Yeah, you heard what they
Buddy
said about
Rose.
footage. We're lucky to have this footage.
Yeah.
Because Don Owen used the same tape to film.
Yeah, just kept recording over the same tape.
If it wasn't for Buddy
Rose
having his significant other film every fucking show, so when he came home he could watch it, we wouldn't have had any of the footage that we got to see on the episode.
100%. Now the grappler, he tells his story of when he first got booked to Portland, and it was at a bowling alley, and he just couldn't believe that this was supposed to be the big time, like in this fucking bowling alley. And he learned that Portland wound up being a great time. They talk about the Portland Sports Arena, which was an old school arena with a crow's nest. They were talking about a story that Billy Jack, the grappler was making fun of Billy Jack's blind dad. And Billy started fighting him, climbing down the crow's nest, where there's no security, it's just a fucking free-for-all. And, I mean, like, again, these riots in the territory days, it was like a normal, everyday fucking thing. And I mean everyday thing, because they wrestled every fucking day. But Bushwhacker Luke put over Don Owen, and how the building always looked filled, because the bleachers were on wheels. Now, I love this idea. The bleachers were on wheels, and if they didn't sell enough tickets, they would just take that section out, which means they always had a sellout. And, I mean, I think that's just fucking amazing. Gimmick the fucking crowd. I mean, it works. Make a building look bigger.
But for TV, that definitely was smart.
Yeah, it definitely gave me some ideas. Like, yo, why not do that? Shit.
Rolling bleachers?
Yeah. Don had a brother named Elton. He was a ex-boxer. And you want to tell the shitty story in this episode? The the cigar story. It seemed like shit was a normal thing in fucking the territory days too.
That was funny. So he's walking around, smoking his cigar. He's in the locker room talking to all the wrestlers. He put down the cigar, went to go do something, and Mr. Adrian Adonis,
He strikes again.
right there with a rib, takes that cigar and puts it all up in his butt crack. Puts it all up in his butt crack.
Ugh.
The cigar back into the ashtray. When Elton Owen comes back, picks up that cigar, walking around, still talking his shit to everybody, and went to go pull on it, and he goes, "Why does it smell like shit in here?" And still takes a puff of the cigar.
Who took a shit in here?
Oh my god, that's so disgusting. Oh man. A rip like that, I think I would have quit. I would have been.
Another story that Luke told was about when he was leaving an arena, and he always kept a gun on him. And one night he was a little fucked up.
When you have that money, you gotta carry something.
Yeah, he was carrying a lot of money on him. Well, one night he was a little fucked up, and he accidentally shot himself in the balls while he was drunk.
That doesn't sound like a little fucked up. That sounds like a lot.
I'm trying to give him a little credit here.
They said that he was a little drunk. No, that's not a little drunk. That's out there, bro.
Now the funny part over here is when he gets to the hospital, right? The doctor thought he tried to kill himself, which led to Elton trying to explain that if he was trying to kill himself, he wouldn't have shot himself in the balls. Like,
like why would I shoot myself in the dick if I wanted to die?
I mean, that's just. But can you imagine like being that drunk that like, where you accidentally shoot yourself and he wasn't trying to go for the gun. He wasn't trying to go for the gun. It was just he accidentally pulled the trigger while he was reaching. I guess maybe he was reaching for the money or maybe the keys to a car or something. He just accidentally pulled the trigger. I guess, ladies and gentlemen, that's why we have gun safety.
Little drunk.
That's why we have safety. The safety switch on a gun.
A little. He was a little drunk.
Now, Playboy Buddy Rose was a huge part of Portland. And I didn't know too much about Playboy. I always heard about Playboy Buddy Rose. I never knew too much about him. And seeing the extents that he went to keep kayfabe, it is amazing. Back in this time, like we always say, it was a different time. Like, and I kind of wish we had, as a wrestler, we had the fans that they had back in the day, for the good and the bad. Imagine us being on the road, right? And we gotta like pretty much fight our way out the building.
Yeah, I don't think we would have been able to sit in the crowd with the Cash Masters.
No, bro. Bro, what do you mean? It would have been like, all right, we got our match. We got to get the fuck out of here now. Like,
yeah. I don't think the shit that we did would have flew if we had those type of fans.
Well, Playboy Buddy Rose was an excellent heel, to the point where one day they're on the road, and it's supposed to be faces riding with faces, heels riding with heels. Well, they all stop at a store, and a kid happens to notice Buddy Rose and asks for his autograph. And legit, Buddy Rose shoots him down because at that time, heels did not sign autographs. You didn't sell merch. You're a bad guy. You didn't want people to like you. You got paid because people didn't like you. And then the kid yelled that Buddy was hitting on his girlfriend, who was only maybe about 16, 17 years old. And Buddy just punched him in the face.
Oh yeah, gosh.
I mean, and
let's go.
yeah, before the police came, Now, Luke and Grappler say they were shocked that Buddy would do that, as they straight up said Buddy was a pussy. Like, they straight up said it.
Please
And
don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me.
yeah, and before a match, he'd asked, "Please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me." And yeah, so for him to punch a 17-year-old kid, that definitely is a pussy mood. I mean, pussy move. Maybe he was in a pussy mood too.
Alcohol involved in that, I guess.
I'm sure in almost every part of a Wrestler's Live in that day, there was some sort of alcohol involved.
And drugs.
100%. 100%. Bro, cocaine. Cocaine in the 80s. Cocaine in the 70s and the 80s, bro. I mean,
Yep.
Now, we get into a story. And I want you to tell this story. All right. Because I don't know if we would have ever, as heel, went to these lengths that Buddy Rose did. But for those that don't know, Matt Bourne was also part of Portland. And if you don't know who Matt Bourne is, you would know him better in WWF as Doink the Clown. Yes, the original Doink the Clown, the best Doink the Clown.
Best, the number one.
Well,
Buddy Rose.
Well, yes. Why don't you tell the story, Punn?
And Matt Bourne get into a rivalry. Top heel, top babyface at the time. But in real life, Buddy Rose marries Matt Bourne's sister and brings the rivalry into Portland wrestling. Like, what kind of shit is that? Now, Matt Bourne was pissed.
And he's cutting promos like, I married Matt Bourne's sister, and here's the thing, the marriage was legit. It was a legit fucking marriage.
I married Matt Bourne's sister. Matt Bourne's sister does what I say. Matt Bourne was not liking it at all. They even went on a talk show to promote this real life marriage rivalry. And I don't know how Matt Bourne was able to stand it, man.
He couldn't. That's why the shit was so real, because it was real. It's like, this dude legit married his sister, and he's going on national television talking about how he married my sister and I'm nothing, and she's telling him stories of when I was a kid and I was a whiny little bitch when I was like
and then he's cheating on her with another bitch.
Yes, Tammy, the one that would tape the wrestling shows. So imagine that, bro. Imagine that, bro. Your wrestling rival marries your sister, and then you find out he cheats on her, and you're bringing this rivalry on television.
Oh man, how real those fans thought that was too, and was that when they got involved, or no? That's a different story.
Of what?
When the fans rushed the ring.
No, that was later. Well, I mean, I don't think I could go that heel. I don't know. Maybe you would. You would. But that is it. And then he divorced her, and then says it on TV too. I divorced. She's a whore. She's nothing.
And the way he doesn't use it by name. Matt Bourne's sister.
I mean, it got so real that Matt Bourne's father got involved one day at a fucking show. He goes to rush. Matt Bourne goes to rush Buddy Rose, and his father steps in the middle. And as his father's in the middle, Buddy Rose is like, "Your sister's a whore. Your sister's a whore.
Your sister's a whore."
I swear. And they say he was Matt. They say that Buddy Rose was the equivalent to the kid in the playground that would hit you and then run away and hide.
The bully that's a bitch.
The bully that's a bitch. Yes. Well,
that was the heel shit that I love.
Now my favorite stories of these are the ones that involve the cops. Okay. And Buddy Rose, there's a Buddy Rose story about one time, but it's known that Buddy Rose would like to drive 100 miles an hour. He had a lead foot. Yeah, Punn, you know that. You know that feeling. Yes. But here's where you and Buddy Rose differ, because whenever he got pulled over, okay, he would gig. He would gig himself and blade and
I should
profusely bleed.
doing that. Should have had you doing that.
All right. So when the cops pulled him over, they'd see him bleeding, and he'd say, "Oh, I just had a cage match. I'm rushing to the hospital." And the cops would put on the sirens and pretty much escort him towards the hospital. Once the cop pulled into the hospital, they take off and get back on the highway. And this was like a normal occurrence. Man, what a great idea! What a great fucking idea.
We should have done that,
We
man.
should have.
I would have been doing 100.
Florida, bro. Florida. We would have never got fucking. We would have never got fucking ticketed in Florida. I mean,
Yep.
in Georgia. In Georgia, technically, we were in Georgia. It was damn, that was a fucking great idea. That was a great idea on Buddy Rose. I love that.
That was awesome. I wish we would have thought of something like that.
Now, Punn, Princess Victoria.
Princess Victoria. Yes. Had an experience similar to yours.
Oh yeah, she definitely did. Now,
She got into the business young. You know, she was a fan at first at 14 years old. And then by 19, she was wrestling in Punn.
yeah, and her story is really, really kind of different than how other people get into business. She was a fan, and she would be at all the shows, and she left home at 14.
Yeah.
So, like, she was staying at hotels and stuff. So they pretty much brought her in, and they trained her and everything. So she was like a product of Portland, and she was instantly a fan favorite. You
Yeah.
know, instantly a fan favorite. Princess Victoria. She had an interaction with Buddy Rose. She was entered into there was an 8-man battle royal. So we could say that Princess Victoria maybe was she the first woman in a battle royal in pro wrestling.
I don't know, because that Portland era was a little later. That was more in the 80s they were talking about.
Yeah, but still, where they had China was the first, supposed to be the first woman in a Royal Rumble in a battle royal match.
Actress Moolah seems to have done everything in her career, so I don't
Well,
know.
that's because she had a stranglehold on it. But Buddy Rose, you know, is cutting a heel promo on her, saying, you know, women don't belong in the ring. You know, the basic misogynistic shtick. You know, the cheap heat for which would be now cheap heat, and this is awesome. He slaps her in the face on TV.
There's trouble. There's
So what does she do? Kicks him dead in the fucking nuts.
dick.
And
Battle Royal, you know, I mean, like, serious. But then that Battle Royal, where she got lifted up, it was what, Buddy Rose and Rip Rogers, I think.
yeah, lifted her up and tossed her straight into a wall. Now I had a similar experience with Dan Moff and Steve Mack, the Hit Squad, in a TLC match where I was managing my crew to Snot at the time, and there was a spot where, you know, I was just poking at them, I mean, doing the heel tactics. I got up on the apron and I was talking shit. Dan Moff turned around and went, and I tried to get off the apron. He pulled me by my ponytail. Legit, this is a shoot. Like, there was no me jumping for him. You know, I tried to jump for him, but he wasn't gonna do much because this motherfucker, like, literally pulled me into the ring by my ponytail, lifted me up, military press, boom, straight into a fucking wall, bro. And then not only that, I do the wall spot, so now I'm down. I'm selling. Bro, next thing you know, I go to start getting up, and a fucking chair comes flying towards me. Boom! Hits me in the head, and I'm back down. I'm like, God damn it. Fucking.
It's funny, though.
It,
Victoria, she gets busted open on the wall. And
Yeah.
She's leaning on the floor, and her brother's trying to get in the ring to go after Buddy Rose.
yeah, because she didn't smarten her family up to the, you know, what's going on. So it was.
And she's just laying there selling. I would do the same thing, you know, let him believe it.
Yeah, I would too. Fuck it.
Fuck it.
Now, the best thing about this battle royal is that they promoted that it was a $10,000 prize that goes to the winner, you know, that type of gimmick. And they were all laughing because they were like, how could it be a $10,000 prize when the house only drew 2,000?
It's a problem that nobody ever saw.
Yeah. And, you know, Princess Victoria actually got a run in WWF.
Yep.
And, she wasn't the only one from Portland to make a WWF. We would see the likes of Roddy Piper in Portland. And you kind of see, like, this is where you get Roddy Piper, the makings of what we've seen in WWF.
Yeah.
And
I was always himself wherever he was.
yeah, I mean, Piper was everything felt natural with Piper. And they were telling stories about Piper, and there happened to be a road story where Roddy is smoking weed, drinking,
Yeah.
smoking weed. They get pulled over, and cop takes Roddy Piper to the judge's house at 2 a.m. and tells them to pay a fine. They scrounge together to get the money and pay, but Roddy and Butch make sure to piss all over the windows of the courthouse and leave. I mean,
While the judge is there with his back to the window doing paperwork or some shit. That is hilarious.
I mean, that's some ballsy thing. That's a ballsy thing to do. I would too. You're gonna make me pay a fine at 2 a.m.? Pissing on your shit. Fuck you. That is some shit I would do, bro. But, they also say that Piper was like one of the nicest guys in the business. Victoria says he was one of the guys that would give the shirt off his back. And it's is arguably the greatest of all time, not only in the ring and as a character, but on the mic.
Oh yeah, for sure. No one could touch him on the mic. I don't think.
No, not at all. Now we get to a story that really intrigued me because of the name and everything. Now there was Mike Masters, and he was going to use the full Nelson, as the same way it helped Snuka and Jimmy Snuka and Jesse Ventura. Now the funny thing about that is we have Mike Masters using the full Nelson, and he did the whole gimmick where it was unbreakable. In WWE around 2005, 2006, we had Kris Masters doing the Master Lock, yeah, which was a full Nelson that you couldn't break out of. So I just find it funny how recycled wrestling really is and how far back they recycle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what really amazed me about this whole thing, and how Mike Masters was able to put it over. How he said that they did studies on him at the USC where, when he puts that hold on, it puts 1,400 pounds of pressure on his hands, so his fingers swell up, and that's what makes it unbreakable. And he couldn't even break it if he tried. And I mean,
work.
I love that. I love that. That's he really incorporated that and went that far to get his character over. And it really, like, that's what the territories was. It was, how far can we go, to make people believe it's real. And I think that's kind of been lost as to now it's how far can we go to make people like this, rather than how far can we go to make people think this is real. How far can we go to make money?
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Granted, I'm 100% into the whole athleticism of it. Sometimes you don't need a story. Sometimes you could just put on a good match. But then again, wrestling has always been based off of suspending belief and making people believe in what you're doing. Fans like your mom. I wish there was crowds of 1,000 Karens in the crowd. You know how much money we'd make, Punn, if we ran a promotion with 1,000 Karens? And I don't mean Karens with a K that complain about everything. I mean Karens with a C that believe everything. We got a new definition for Karen.
Is still alive?
Oh, Punn, please, Punn, tell that story. Punn, please tell that story.
All right. So everybody knows Vince McMahon blew himself up in the limo, right? And, it was a storyline to write him off for a little while. But then, Chris Benoit does that double murder suicide and kills his family, kills himself. So Vince McMahon immediately drops
Nixed
his
it.
death
Yeah.
storyline and shows up on Raw. And my mom, sitting on her couch, couldn't believe her eyes. Oh my God! I thought Vince McMahon was dead. He blew up in the limo.
Jesus. But you know what? I wish I had 1,000 fans like that, man. That way you could pull a stunt like that and they'll believe it. And I guarantee if Chris Benoit never did what he did, and God rest Nancy and his son's soul, um, he never did what he did, how long would Vince McMahon have stayed away?
That storyline have went. I
but
came back too. It would have been
and
completely different.
the reason why I wanted you to bring that up and talk about that because it kind of relates to Vince McMahon was willing to go that far, and I'm sure there were more people like your mom who were like,
Yeah,
he just died.
yeah.
Vince McMahon
I
just died,
yeah, you're right. She's not the only one worldwide that believed Vince
and
was.
we need more fans like that in crowds now, so that you
Yeah,
can put over the story rather than having a bunch of guys just put on good matches. Now you can add some substance to it where now you don't have to kill yourself because now you got people that fucking believe everything you're fucking doing.
word. And that's what was good about the territory days.
100%. We're
It's
gonna,
because you living the snot gimmick everywhere we went.
yeah. I mean, that was our thing. I didn't want to sell merch and stuff like that, and I don't think we really did other than to like people that hit us up on Facebook and
Yeah,
we
we
didn't
didn't
really
sell
go. We didn't set up
those.
merch tables, and when the snot first started, that was my thing. I didn't want to sell merch. Like I was like, no, we're heels, no autographs, and I stayed away. I stayed in the locker rooms. I went out. I stayed away. I gave fans nasty looks, and a lot of fans didn't want to talk to me or anything like because I said this is what. That's just kind of also the stories I hear of the territories of how they kept the kayfabe and not selling merch and keeping if you were a heel, you were a fucking heel. If you were injured, you stayed home.
Yeah.
So we have a story about our favorite people, Punn, the Athletic Commission, the
Oh yeah.
Commission.
We're
Uh,
gonna shut you down.
yes, our favorite people in the world. Well, Matt Bourne was having a match, and he had no time for the Commission. He wasn't playing with their bullshit. And pretty much all the Commission is you pretty much pay them, and they allow you to put on a wrestling event. Your money's supposed to be going. Your
To follow the rules.
your money's supposed to be going to all the insurance and that. Man, it ain't going to none of that shit. All right, it's pretty much like you got to pay them off and shit like that. So he gets on a mic and cuts a promo and promised the bloodiest match of all time, which was a no. You know what I mean? Like the commission had all these rules about what you can and can't do in pro wrestling because to them it was considered a sport. And to this day, in some states like New York, um, it's still considered a combat sport, and you have to adhere by there. You have to have guardrails, and you can't wrestle in the crowd. And there's what is it? No table spots in the ring now in New York, and all this other stuff. So here's Matt Bourne in Portland, okay, who pretty much all the commissions have the same rules, generally have the same rules, I would say. Would you agree, Pun? They pretty much have the
Yeah.
same. So he promised the bloodiest match of all time, and then he told those in charge it was just a way to sell tickets, and he really wasn't going to bleed. And he invites the commission down, in that promo. He tells them to come down. Sure enough, through the match, he cuts himself mad deep for on the match and on TV. And
He
he's
said it was the hard way, trying to lie about it.
and he's pouring blood out of his head. And like you said, he tried to convince everyone it was a hard way, but nobody believed it, and the promotion was shut down for a week. Now, a promotion being shut down for a week nowadays is nothing. The promotions run once a month, right? Um, unless you're like GCW out here in Jersey, where they're running like every week in like different states. But pretty much back then, shutting down for a week literally meant you lost your job for a week. They wrestled Monday through Friday, twice on Sunday. It's so they got shut down for a week and had the commission breathing down their neck like for the longest, and it wound up starting to kill the promotion. Then Vince McMahon, like all territories, he was expanding, and he took their time slot. Yep, in '92 he took their time slot, which is funny because in '93 Vince McMahon would go on USA Network with Monday Night Raw. So it was like it was starting to get doomed after Matt Bourne bled on TV and pretty much defied the commission. And fuck the commission. It's a sad thing to say that we know the ending to all of these stories though. The ending is Vince McMahon took over. Um, and that's just the truth. And he took their top stars and used them in WWF to help him expand.
Like Bushwhacker said, we went over there, we became a cartoon. People asked us why we did it. The money.
At the end of the day, it's always about the money.
It's all about money. Matt Bourne went over there, became Doink the Clown. It was all about that money. And I don't blame them, especially
as the famous $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase would say, everyone has a price. I sure do. I'm not one of those guys that ever said I don't want to go to WWE. Or I'm never going to go to WWE. I never want to go to WWE. No, fuck that. That's the biggest promotion in the world. That's where I want to be. That's where the money is. Shit, who wouldn't go there? I think I think if the money's right, why not? If the money is right, why not? At the end of the day, this is a job. You got to feed your family, and this is what you do for a livelihood. Keep a stable job.
I would say even if the money is not that right, it's going to be a lot more money than you're making at your current job or I'm making at my current job. So, even if the money is so-so, it's still going to be a lot more than what
I've always said. Even if I heard they creative's doing nothing, creative has nothing for you, or something like that, you're still paying me, right? Okay.
I don't mind sitting in catering.
No. I'm saying when you're not on TV or anything like in your home, you're all right. I'm gonna take this time to work out. I'm gonna take this time to get shit done. You're paying me. That would be my response. Listen, we're gonna sit you home. There's nothing for you. You're paying me, okay? As long as you're still paying me, I'm good.
When they're not on TV, they're in catering. You hear that a lot.
Yeah, but I'm saying if that situation happened with me, again, I don't care what you're still paying me, right? Okay, as long as you're still paying me, I have no problem with what you want to do with me or don't want to do with me. It's you're still paying me. Those checks are still coming.
Oh,
but I think this again was another great episode. It seemed like they were getting better episode by episode. And I really enjoyed this episode and got an insight into a promotion I've always been interested in, but never really got to know, the promotion. And a lot of people didn't because, like we said, the footage wasn't recorded by the promotion themselves. But thankfully, Buddy Rose's
second
wife, mistress, lady, his lady friend, did tape it, and thankfully to that, we, like you said, we were able to see the footage. Next week we have the 8th episode, and we're going to Texas, baby. We're going to WCCW, Wrestling's Lone Star Legacy. All right, we're talking about the Von Erichs. All right, Dallas Sportatorium. Okay, we're talking about the wrestling that Steve Austin grew up on.
The Nightball doesn't come out next week.
we're talking about the fabulous Freebirds. WCCW World Class Championship Wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, tune in next week. And on behalf of myself and John Punn, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to another episode of Territory Talk here on the Four Corners Network. If you'd like to stay updated on everything Four Corners Network, we're posting news, we're posting tidbits, we're posting content, we're giving you podcasts exactly right above Punn's head where he's pointing. All right? At Four Corners Net. That's at number 4cornersnet on all social media platforms. You can find me on all social media platforms at Rex Wrestles. That's REX Wrestles. Punn, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me at all those social medias up there as well, at John Punn, JONPUNN, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You know, it's all about Four Corners Network. All the news anytime you want it.
Once again, thanks to each and every one of you for helping making this show a success. And as always, be excellent to each other and keep supporting pro wrestling.